Good afternoon, Deering High School. So I'd like to introduce you to somebody very special to me, but also very special to the New England Patriots, Trevor Bates.
Is this on? Okay.
So Trevor, you want to have a seat and have a conversation?
Let's do it.
Are you up for it?
I am.
So I got to preface this by saying that my first meeting of Trevor was, he was, how were you, 8? How old were you?
8 or 9.
8 or 9 years old. I used to coach at baseball at Westbrook, and Trevor was the kid kind of looking over the fence at a clinic that we were running, and I kind of walked over the fence. I'm like, "What's your name?" He goes, "I'm Trevor." And so I was like, do you want to come play with us? And he's like, "All right." And he had these beat up old white, do you remember those white high tops? I don't know if you remember that.
No.
He had these white high tops. I'm like, "Do you have any cleats?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Come on in anyway." And he came in, and ever since then, he's just a great guy. So I was lucky to get him when he grew up into a big boy. I had him as a freshman in Algebra 1, and then I got to watch him go through the journey that he's gone through. So thanks a lot for being here, bro.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys listening.
So I got a list of questions here, and then we're gonna open it up to Trevor afterwards, and then afterwards Trevor said that he'd stick around for some autographs if you guys are up for it. Hopefully you guys brought a pen, unlike you do to math class. But anyway, Trevor, can you just give me a brief overview of what your childhood was like in Westbrook?
So growing up, it was always me and my mother. I had 3 half brothers and a half sister through my father. My dad and my mother split when I was about 3, so my mother took me up to Maine and really raised me on her own. She did a phenomenal job. She didn't always have the most money. She didn't work. She was on Social Security, but she always provided for me everything I needed. Like I said, we didn't have the most money, but I always felt like I was the wealthiest kid on the block. I always had quality things, and everything I needed: gear, football cleats, baseball cleats. It wasn't always the nicest, but it was things that she provided to me when she didn't really have it, and she was selfless and sacrificed, getting things that she needed for me. So that was obviously huge. But I had a great childhood. I played baseball, basketball, football. She got me involved in sports at an early age. She knew I was a wild child, and I needed to control all that crazy energy in some way. So she kept me in sports. But I had a lot of friends. I was always outside. I was always active. I was always trying to push it and everything I could. But my youth was definitely an enjoyable time.
So you grew up in Westbrook, and at that time, the mill had shut down, and there was a lot of families that were struggling, but you had a really strong group of friends that you hung out with, and a lot of them played Little League World Series and stuff like that. How much influence did that have on you as both a competitor and as a person?
It was big, especially the Little League World Series. I was a year younger than that team that went there. So obviously, at the time, those are kids I grew up with, so I wasn't really a part of that group, but I competed at the age below that, but at that point I was probably the best 11-year-old. They were all 12, and so I enjoyed it because I strung everyone out and no one could really hit me and stuff like that, so I had a great time. But having great talent around me at a young age obviously helped me compete harder and made my drive and my hunger to be better than them and try to compete in everything we did. Obviously grow and increase over time, and that's kind of how my youth was. We tried to compete in everything we did. If it was just playing football in the front yard or basketball or baseball, regardless what it was, racing down to the stop sign, that competition has been instilled in me since I was real little.
So I remember in math class, you sat next to Sean, and I had to separate them because Trevor would look over at Sean's paper, and if Sean beat him, he'd get ticked off. He hated it. He hated, that's the type of competitor that he kind of grew up with. But how much of an influence did, you talked about your mom being such a good role model for you, and she provided for you. And I know her well enough to know that she's got an inner strength.
Yeah.
How has that served you as you've moved forward here?
My mother's a very godly woman, and so her faith, kind of how she just demonstrated that in her walk, her daily walk, something that obviously rubbed off on me, and kind of helped me develop my own faith and walk with God. She's always just been positive and selfless at all times, and she hasn't had it easy. She's been through her fair share of difficulties and hardships, but she's always remained positive, and she's always been the most loving woman, and she provided me with everything I needed, and she just showed me really how to treat others and be kind and be humble and respectful and just instill discipline. There's countless qualities that woman has that she shared down with me, whether she realized it or not. But she's definitely, her inner strength, she is very resilient, and she, regardless of what she faces, she continues to have that faith, and that's something that I picked up, and I went through my fair share of adversity and trials and hardships, and growing up with her, that's something I was able to get through all that because I had such a strong faith in God and myself, and just she was very pivotal in my growth.
So high school, during high school is a little bit different than the Westbrook that you knew, but in general the age group is about the same. Can you describe kind of Trevor Bates from freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year? When did you start figuring things out, and what did that look like from that?
I didn't figure things out probably till I left high school. I came freshman year. Again, I didn't have a tough upbringing at all. As far as my mother provided for me. I didn't have difficulty with her, but my father wasn't around, so I think that kind of played a role in not having a male figure, a male leader, mentor in my life to kind of learn how to grow like a man. So I was kind of wild, and I kind of pushed it in different ways that was almost detrimental to me. I dabbled in weed, I dabbled in drinking, partying, stealing. Freshman year, baseball, got kicked off the freshman baseball team, got caught with weed, 4 weeks gone off that team, and baseball was my baby growing up, so not being able to be a part of that team, and not being able to play with my teammates and kind of letting them down. Obviously, freshman year wasn't the biggest letdown. I was fairly new to high school, and a lot of my boys were on varsity and stuff like that, so it didn't feel too bad at the moment. But continuing down that path, I still drank and still smoked and still went to parties all the time and just put things ahead of what were important at the time. So I continued to get in trouble. Sophomore year, got multiple summonses with police, partying, possession, consumption, alcohol, this, that. It seemed like every other weekend, really. So we continued on that. And so sophomore year was a good year for me athletically. I started football both ways on the varsity. I played basketball on the varsity. Baseball is still kind of straggling behind, playing JV, but was doing well sports-wise. So we're getting to junior year, and I'm still kind of going down that same path. Not really taking my sports serious, academics serious, not doing homework, not really caring about any of my classwork or attendance or things like that. Still drinking, still partying, still smoking weed, and continuing to get in trouble. I probably had the worst luck that any kid could have. Anytime I was at a party, Trevor would get caught, or if I was smoking weed, I was the one that would get caught over and over throughout high school. So junior year continued, I got football. Fortunately, I don't know if I thought about it when I was doing it, but I never really got in trouble during football season, maybe because I loved it so much that I finally had that priority kind of set straight. But junior year, I got kicked off my basketball team, which was a championship team or a potential championship team, for stealing. Got kicked off that, and it didn't only affect me, it affected my mother, affected my community. People probably questioned my mother's parenting, which had nothing to do with her. It was just me acting out, making poor decisions. It just affected my teammates. They lost a valuable player, and it affected them. And junior was really the time where I realized I had the opportunity to play college football, and so you would think that with such a big opportunity on the line and ahead of me, I would try to make some smarter decisions, but I continued to do what I was doing, continued to smoke and drink and party during or when I was in season, and continued to get caught. I probably throughout my high school career got like 10 or 12 summonses, so I'd have to skip class every Tuesday at 6 a.m. and go in the court and have to deal with that and put my mother through $500 fine, $800 fine, $1,000 fine, 80 hours community service, and we probably went through that 10 or 12 times throughout high school. And senior year, probably one of the biggest regrets I had was my senior prom. I brought alcohol to the prom, and as soon as I got there, the principal came out to me. He's like, Trevor, we got word that you might be bringing some alcohol in for some girls. You mind if we check you? And me thinking I was, just bold and would never get caught again, and thought I was, the man. I had it right in my pocket, didn't even hide it or anything, and they found it. And luckily, I was able to stay at my senior prom. But we had 2 weeks left of the baseball season. We were the best team easily in the state of Maine at the time, and I finally kind of flipped my role around. I was one of the better hitters on the team, and I was a big leader on that team too. And I got kicked off that team, and I remember just seeing all my boys' faces and the letdown and disappointment that they had on their faces, because they knew that they lost a huge player on the team. And I remember going to the Western Maine championship against Shepherds and just watching them struggle, I played left field, trying to fill my role, hitting, and just even in the outfield, we had one player who had like a torn labrum. He was a lefty. He had to use an opposite glove just to play left field because I wasn't there. And the team was flat, and we got destroyed that game. And baseball was a huge sport in our town. Obviously, Eisenhower influenced a lot of my boys and players in our town. So a lot of guys took pride in that. And just the fact that I let all my boys down, even to this day, we kind of joke about it now, but that's something that lives with you. And I know you got all this time ahead of you, but these decisions you make, especially when you have opportunity ahead of you and blessings ahead of you and a future. By the grace of God, fortunately for me, I made so many decisions that I didn't completely sabotage my opportunity I had ahead of me. But you never know what decision might be that make or break one. So I learned a lot going through high school, and it helped me to move forward and grow as a man, a young man.
So you've had coaches, your college coach loved you.
Yeah.
And you needed that. You needed somebody in your life that would kind of believe in you and allow you to be Trevor Bates. And he's spoken in articles and in the press about how much of a leader you became and how dependable you were. And this is in college at the University of Maine in Orono, which is above Bangor. It's the only Division I program in the state. And when Trevor played for them, and the coach has been quoted as saying, Trevor's our most dependable guy. He's the guy that the team rests their worries, their shoulders on, and Trevor took it on. How much of the experiences you had letting down your teammates when you were in high school, how much of that played into you being such a good role model and leader in college?
Well, the big thing with that is when I got to Maine, I quickly earned that same reputation I had at Westbrook. I had a party, and I felt like it was just a bigger stage for me. I was like, oh, well, I had fun in high school, well, now I got 20,000 kids, everyone loves to drink, I'm here to party and have fun, and I quickly earned the reputation of Party Boy Bates. We had a defensive coordinator, Mr. Hardy could probably tell you this one, but they used to all call me Party Boy Bates because I was there to party. I didn't really care about the team. I didn't care about the scholarship I had, getting an education, or representing the state of Maine the way I should. And so there's about 7 or 8 of us on a weekend my freshman year. We're in a dorm room, and we all had beers. And obviously in college you're not supposed to drink underage or in the dorm room. So we were completely ignorant about that. We're walking, being loud, being obnoxious, and this RA comes up to us, sees us, like, hey, what are you guys doing? So we chuck our beers, throw the beers, like on the ground and run out. And that following Monday, I get called in by the coach that claims to love me now. And he's like, listen, RA caught you, and basically, you know, got me in a lot of trouble. But the crazy thing was I was the only one that got caught out of 8 or 9 of us. And I'm just thinking back, like, is this really what I'm gonna do? And how I'm gonna use this opportunity that I have right now, continue down the same path? Obviously I need to figure things out. And so I ended up getting suspended for two football games my freshman year. And I remember watching it at I watched it at my friend's house, because I couldn't even go on the sideline, and I was too embarrassed to go watch in the stands. And I was just like, I was so disappointed in myself that I had gotten to this point. I have this gift, I have this talent that God gave me to play football that not a lot of people get to do and receive an education, and I'm just, you know, throwing it away. And luckily, Coach Cos didn't kick me off the team. But I had a couple great mentors at the time. I had a senior, and I had a team pastor, and a couple coaches who really kind of took me in. Were like, dude, you need to figure it out, man. You need to understand what you have and how you can use it and what you can do with it. And kind of, I didn't do a complete 180 at that time, but I slowly started to figure it out and started to realize what I had. And remember that next preseason camp, I went to Maine on like $1,000 scholarship. It's really like they recruit football players out of Jersey and New York, and that's kind of where they see their talent from. So sometimes they'll grab Maine players. I was kind of not like a gimme, but they had to get some Maine players in their system. They tend to do that, and so that following preseason, I worked hard and I kind of gave it everything I had. And at the end of the camp, my coach came out to me and he's like, Trevor, we recognize the hard work you put in. We've seen what you've been doing. We're going to put you on a half scholarship this year. Then we're going to put you on a full scholarship the rest of your Maine career. And it was kind of that point that I realized that it's really all in my hands. As long as I kind of get my priorities straight, as long as I put the work that's necessary to put in and really just bust myself in every aspect, that I can control where I need to go and what I need to do. So I got on a full scholarship, ended up starting the rest of my college career, and that kind of launched me into the direction I went in.
So flash forward.
Yeah.
You're sitting in a small group of family, and you get a phone call from the Colts.
Yeah.
What did that feel like? Explain that scenario. Explain who was in the room and what did that feel like?
It was definitely the most emotional point in my life. It was me, my mother, my grandmother, my girlfriend, and we were just. I hear some laughter right there. It's okay.
They're bummed out you have a girlfriend. I heard it. So she's like,
she's a good girl. Don't worry.
I had Olivia, his girlfriend. I had her in class as well, and she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's a good egg. It was a good choice, by the way.
Yeah, she's solid. But no, it was just emotional, man. As soon as they called me, I've been waiting the whole time, and I didn't think I was going to get drafted at that point. So we had been waiting, and certain things happened. Certain other players got picked up by teams, and just tears, man. Tears were flowing down my face. Of just kind of gratitude and just how amazing really God was that, you know, I came through all this trouble and pain and just the upbringing I had and all that difficulty, to see how He used it for me and how I really flipped it around. And it was a great moment for me and my mother and my family. Just to see all that hard work pay off and to see where my new journey was going to begin.
So you get a lot of kids in the room who are freshmen. There are some that are not freshmen. If you had to give one piece of advice, looking back to your earlier days in high school, what one massive piece of advice would you give to them? I know you learned a little bit later, or you just kind of figured things out a little bit later. What could they do right now that could kind of change their stars, change their path?
Obviously, the decisions you make, not everyone's going to be fortunate and be able to get breaks every time. That's huge. So just make sure your priorities are straight. If you have I know most of You said most of them were freshmen here?
Yeah, about 90%.
So it'll be a while till you realize what you're gonna do for college and what your career is gonna be, but leading up to that, you make the right decisions, you put the work in and take care of your academics and your grades and your work. It's gonna make it easier down the road. That's something I didn't do. I didn't take care of my academics till really my senior year. So I applied to all these schools. I applied to UNH, to BC, to UMass, to UConn, to countless Division I schools trying to play football. And repeatedly I'd get these letters back and, no, I'm sorry to inform you we can't accept you. Your grades are too bad. And because my freshman, sophomore, junior year, my GPA got killed. I didn't care about academics. I didn't really care about anything besides doing what I wanted to do. And I didn't figure it out, at least the academic part, of my senior year. And that killed me. At that point, obviously, I loved that I went to Maine. And we always joke about it now because we know some of the coaches. So, like my coach calls at Maine, we'll be like, hey man, you should have took him back when he had those shitty grades. Excuse my language, but
They have never heard that word before, ever.
just letting you know. But just take care of your academics now, even when you don't feel like it. Just make it harder now so it's easier later. I'll definitely help you out.
So I have a couple of more superficial questions for you.
Yeah, me.
Who's the best player that you've played against so far?
Well, it's different. When I was with Indy, I was a pass rusher. Some people don't know who that is, but I had to get after the quarterback. So I had to go against some big dudes with like 340, 350 pounds. So I faced some good talent there. But obviously, competing against Brady every day in practice, that's definitely the highest level of competition I'll ever face.
All right. How close is the similarity between Bill Belichick and your mom? What's the similarity? Which one's tougher?
Oh man, definitely Belichick. My mother, she'll give in to me pretty quickly. Belichick, he's a difficult man, but he's a guy that expects the most out of you, and that's really what sets him apart. He pushes you in ways that aren't always clear. Just how his standards are and his expectations of you make you kind of rise and compete at your highest level because you obviously know his resume and how great of a coach he is. So I try to compete and be great in everything I do, and that's really the hidden motivation there.
So I know he's a taskmaster, but a lot of that has to come. I mean, I know you well enough to know that you get it built into you that it comes genetically. I know your mom's a very strong woman. You have a lot of faith in God and yourself, and that pushes you through a lot of it. But there are those moments. Like he reports to camp next Monday, right?
Yeah.
Monday, and so he's going to get his butt beat from day one. And explain what those days, how long those days are, what your regimen kind of looks like, and I know you're going to be gassed. How do you get through those moments when you could quit or push forward? What do you think about in those moments? So, routine, and then how do you get through the tough spots?
Well, the routine is big. I try to stay consistent with that every day, and it's different too. There's different phases. So, like Monday, it's a little lighter load. We just have kind of workouts and speed work and stuff like that. And as it goes, the load gets more heavy and more demanding. But it's really, for me, it's always been about being the best and having a desire to be the greatest that I can be and trying to be better than the people around me. Especially playing at this level, obviously I'm playing with the best players in the world. And so if I can compete and if I can beat them, that's really what drives me. That's what has drove me since day one. Kind of always try to make myself the hardest worker in the room and have my work ethic be the standard for my teammates and the players around me, so they knew if they were giving everything they had. But now it's a little different because I'm surrounded with guys who have this ultimate work ethic, and so it's the margin or the difference between us is very minimal. So you have to capitalize on everything you can, and even if you want to get 1% better each day is still growing and getting better. And so it's really about just taking care of my body, doing the rehab and the prehab and the icing and the treatment over and over, the hot tubs, the cold tubs, the massages, the proper sleep, the diet, the nutrition, the studying. It's tedious work, but it's really about just staying consistent throughout each day and getting the work done.
So you just said the S word, study, really quick, and I'm going to open it up to you guys. You're going to study. What does that mean for you? Now you're a guy that will prep using the other team's defense week by week. Do you have to know the other team's defense before you get into the coming week so that Brady and the offense can be prepared? What does that look like? What does the studying part look like?
It's really like academics. You gotta literally know everything. Our playbook is massive, so you have to know offensive formation, tendencies, what certain players do, how they do it. If you're a scout team player, you got to know how the other players do it and how to give the best look to Brady and our offense. You got to know special teams. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I study the same way I would do for academics. I'm on my iPad. I'm looking at plays. I'm watching film for countless hours, trying to pick up anything I can to get an advantage. Because like I said before, the level of play is so close that you really need to do everything you can just to find a slight edge or a little advantage. So you put as much as you can in the preparation to try to make it hard now so it's easier on Sundays and when we play.
So you guys, we have about 3-ish minutes left to the end of school. Now I'm going to preface this by saying that we can field some questions here from the audience. Trevor's going to stick around for a little while. We're going to have a table set up here. So we'll pull his chair back. We'll have you guys come up on stage, line up, and then come up on stage and maybe get an autograph from Trevor, if that's all right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Can you guys hold on? Jackson, can you guys have a seat for a second? So, is anybody, we got about 3 minutes left. Go ahead and have a seat, guys. We're not done yet. Thanks, Mo. Does anybody have a question for Trevor?
Do you ever use your own players?
Do I use my own player in Madden? Of course I do. I got to make sure, they have me looking right and, I'm fast enough.
Who's that, Caleb?
How hard does Edelman hit?
How hard does Edelman hit? I'm sure he hits hard. He's never hit me. I've hit him. But he's a good competitor.
What's the craziest play you've ever seen in practice?
Craziest play? I don't know about the craziest play, but it's always cool to see our offense work on a certain play throughout the week. And even if our defense stops it, they find ways to make it work against our defense, and then to see that happen in the game on Sunday and know that, we contributed to that and we worked on that, and maybe it didn't work on me, but it worked on a different linebacker on a different team. That's always cool to see on Sundays.
Sarah, do you have a question? We'll field this one and then we'll let you guys ask questions. If you want to stick around, you're welcome to stick around. After this question, you guys can take off, okay? What's it?
23.
All right, if you guys want to stick around, can we give it up for Trevor? Thanks for coming.
Thank you.